Red state Republican governors are blaming blacks and Hispanics for the rise in COVID cases. As the Delta variant contributes to a surge of COVID-19 cases around the United States, voices have emerged blaming people entering the country, in particular migrants crossing the U.S. border, as well as African Americans, for the spread of COVID, the Delta. There is one state where the governor is blaming migrants, but the lieutenant governor is contradicting the governor and blaming African Americans. Could you believe this? They can't even get together. And they're Republicans. Oh. Anyway, I'll be letting you know what state and who the governor and lieutenant governors are. They can't, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand's doing. Welcome to The Naked Truth on the USA Podcast channel, the program where I share the important notes of the day from newspapers, magazines, social network, radio, and television in the U.S. from my Hispanic point of view that impacts all Americans, not just some. I'm Juan Andres, also known as Senor USA. Among the most vocal are Republican governors Greg Abbott in Texas and Ron DeSantis in Florida. The attacks heated up this past week when Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick claimed that African Americans were to blame for the ever-increasing wave of coronavirus cases. Patrick was asked on Fox News to respond to the criticisms over his state's handling of the pandemic. The COVID is spreading, Patrick said, particularly most of the numbers are with the unvaccinated. Well, and the biggest group in most states are African Americans who have not been vaccinated. But Texas Governor Abbott has repeatedly blamed undocumented immigrants for the rise in COVID-19 cases in the state and issued an executive order to limit the transport of migrants in Texas who may transmit the virus. How are you going to do that? unless you're profiling, then it's not even going to be about the health. It's going to be about the color of the skin, because you're targeting Hispanics. The Justice Department called the order dangerous and unlawful. Thank you, and a judge temporarily blocked it. Amen. Oh my goodness. DeSantis, for his part, blamed President Joe Biden for importing the virus from around the world by having a wide open southern border. Now notice he says around the world, but he specifically states the southern border. And there's only one country that we have a southern border with, and it isn't a border with all the world. So he is more crafty, but again, targeting a group of people. Now for the facts. Black people are about 13% of the total population and are not the biggest group of unvaccinated people either in Texas or across the USA. An analysis by the Kaiser Family Foundation found that white adults account for the largest share of unvaccinated adults. Even if we dive into the rates, the implication from Patrick that black people, or Abbott that Hispanic immigrants are especially to blame for spreading the virus, is simply not accurate. But then nowadays in politics, I don't know, we elect these guys and they just speak from the seat of their pants. And they don't care whether they're accurate or not, as long as it takes them in the direction they think they're going in. Boy, oh boy. You have over 100 different countries where people are pouring through, DeSantis said recently. Not only are they letting them through, they're then farming them out all across our communities, across this country, putting them on planes, putting them on buses. And Iowa Republican Governor Kim Reynolds voiced a similar view in late July, claiming that while Americans grapple with COVID restrictions, there are people coming across the border that haven't been vaccinated. Last week, while discussing the possibility of ordering the use of masks in schools, members of school boards from 2 counties in North Carolina accused undocumented immigrants of causing the increase in COVID-19 cases in the country, but they don't want to wear masks. Go figure. In addition, about 1/3 of unvaccinated citizens believe foreigners traveling to the U.S. are the cause of the increase in coronavirus infections, according to a survey published recently. The analysis notes that Black and Hispanic people remain less likely than their white counterparts to have received a vaccine. However, vaccination rates among Blacks continue to increase while the rate among white people is on the decline. Take the example of Mississippi, one of the 5 states with the lowest percentages of undocumented immigrants in the country, according to the estimates by the Pew Research Center. It's currently the state with the lowest vaccination rate nationally, and it ranked 3rd in the COVID-19 infections per 100,000 people last week. In Mississippi, less than 36% of residents are fully vaccinated, according to the government data. Anthony Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, said that contrary to what DeSantis has said, the state's COVID-19 surge is due to its low vaccination rate. I don't see anything except racism and bigotry behind pointing the finger at immigrants, added Arthur Kaplan, director of the Division of Medical Ethics at the New York University School of Medicine. While Schaffner, professor of preventive medicine at Vanderbilt University, recently said that given the extensive transmission already in the U.S., the immigration contribution is akin to pouring a bucket of water into a swimming pool. Another false claim that's been repeated around COVID-19 is that the country's borders are wide open and anyone can enter, just as DeSantis put it. This is not the case. In March 2020, the U.S. closed its land borders with Mexico and Canada to non-essential travel such as tourism. The measure has been extended on a monthly basis continually since then. In addition, since the end of January, federal health authorities have required a negative COVID-19 test for international travelers, including citizens and residents who arrive in the United States by air. On the southern border, U.S. Border Patrol has expelled 750,000 people who have crossed into the United States, even those seeking asylum under a public health order known as Title 42, first put in effect by former President Donald Trump and now maintained by the Biden administration. So, folks, it was racism when they were coming down the escalators, seeking the presidency of the United States. Now it's COVID-19 and it's racism all over again. What a shame. Why can't we just speak the truth? Why can't we listen to the medical authorities, the professionals, and pay attention instead of making up these wild, cockeyed ideas that come into these politicians' minds that say anything to appease the crowd and get a couple of votes. And it's just a shame that the United States has come to this. It's sad. Because it wasn't this. We were always divisive, but not to this degree. Not to the point that we're willing to sacrifice the country for it. I'm Juan Andres, also known as Senor USA on The Naked Truth. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.